N5ZUA. Repeater PL103.5.
And once again, hello everyone, this is Steve in Houston, Texas, N5ZUA, your technical operator tonight for the Wind System TechNet, which meets every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time on the Wind System, including our two Wind System reflectors on the IRLP network number 9100 on the All-Star network number 2560. This is a directed net. What that means is that all calls should go through the net control operator. This net is open to all licensed radio amateurs. The purpose of this net is to enlighten amateur radio operators on things of a technical nature. We try our best to answer any technical question for the benefit of all listening amateurs. So, is there an amateur radio question that has never been made quite clear to you? Here's your opportunity to find and fellow hams from around the world share the answer. So please have the courage to ask the question you've been wondering about. Remember, that's right, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. Reset. All right, the format for this net, well, it's pretty easy. I'll ask for stations who have a technical question for the net, then ask for call signs. Please give the suffix of your call sign. That's the part after the number. Phonetically twice if you can. For example, my call sign is N5ZUA, so I would say Zulu Uniform Alpha, pause, and then repeat Zulu Uniform Alpha. And I'll take one or two at a time, then come back and ask you for your full call sign, name, location, and place. And of course, I'll try my best to find an answer for your question. If you have a comment on a particular question, please say comment. I'll acknowledge you and ask you to identify yourself and state your comment. Once the question has been answered, Net Control reserves the right to use that. And again, please remember, this is a controlled net, so all transmissions should go through Net Control office. All right, I understand Gordo is standing by, so let's see if there's any news on that front. WB6NOA from Net Control, N5ZU.
And a very good evening to you, Steve. We have an extension on the comment period for us possibly losing the 60, that's the 60, the 5 megahertz band. So if you are in the commenting, you'll see all sorts of new announcements about that on the ARRL sites. And we encourage all of you, make noise. We don't want to lose those 5 channels and the 100 watts that we now have. More? A good question, dealing with Maritime Mobile aboard a small boat with just a single stick. The operator says, I get out great. I'm heard on the net, the stations up and down the coast. With just a simple $22 ham stick from MFJ off a stern railing that is tied into the small boat's outboard motor and ground system. And he says, when I'm on my 5-band trap vertical at the house, my signal is not near as strong. Well, it points out the importance of a good ground plane. So if that 5-band vertical at the house is not sounding as good, you may want to lay out some 1/4 wavelength radios for the band that you're normally on, and some other bands as well. But do know that a little ham stick with a huge ground plane below it will sound just as mighty on that first or second hop that a much taller antenna. I've got to duck out for an alternate for about 15 minutes, and I should be back at about 5 minutes to the hour at the most. WB6NOA, and then I'm with you till 1/2 past.
Alrighty, permission to secure from this net. Go take care of your other business, and we'll look for you to holler back when you get back in place here. All right, let's see who has an amateur radio technical question for the net this evening. Suffix of your call sign, phonetically twice, please. Call now. All right, this is the Wind System Technical Net for this Friday night. We're taking questions from anyone with a valid ham radio license on any amateur radio subject. Anything is fair play. HF, VHF, UHF comms, antennas, coax, radios, anything that is on your mind. Modes of operation, rules and regulations, things like that. Anything ham radio, suffix of your call sign phonetically twice, please. Foxtrot India, Romeo Foxtrot India. Whoops, you have very low audio. I had to really crank mine up here to hear you. Something Foxtrot India. Go ahead. KJ7RFI, Romeo Foxtrot India. All right, KJ7RFI. Go ahead. Your comment about my receive level. I have a 6-inch antenna that came with my handheld radio. Then I bought an 18-inch. I bought a 3-footer. I am certain it helps you with receive, but I'm a little perplexed on what my transmit level change would be. I would assume that the bigger antenna, the worse my transmit gets because of the load, but do I get a better return if I go ahead and use this size antenna or not? Well, on FM and even AM, changing your antenna is not going to change your audio qualities. Your deviation is low out of the radio. So David is here. I'm sorry, Gordon West had to step out to check in on a different net there for a few minutes, but we have some other folks here that can help answer the questions. David, good evening, K4FXC. If you'd like to have a stab at that from N5ZUA, net control. Yeah, N5ZUA, the net K4FXC. Good evening, everybody. Well, I guess this is for the 2-meter band. Your antennas are for. I didn't hear exactly which band, but in general, as you go up in length of the antenna up to a 5/8 wave, half wave or 5/8 wave on your radio, which is a very tall antenna for an HT, but make sure you don't break the mount off on the radio. If it's an SMA, it can be pretty fragile. But in general, it'll help a lot. But if it's helping with receive, it's going to help with transmit as well. Of course, if you're on FM, you have to remember that if your signal's getting into the repeater or the other station is already full quieting, then it's not going to get any better. So if you got a great signal into the repeater, it's sitting under or something with a little half-inch, dummy load of an antenna, then putting a huge antenna on the radio is not going to make it any better because you're already at full quieting. But in general, yes, it will help. Of course, it's not going to change your audio quality, but it just changes the amount of background noise, the hiss and any noise from a weak signal. It'll help improve that situation if you got anything going on. But certainly, I've got a large 5/8 wave. I guess it's a 5/8 wave 2-meter antenna, old AEA antenna. And I was standing on the front porch of my parents' place 40 years ago with a 3-watt HT, which is in southeastern North Carolina, and worked Fort Lauderdale, Florida, using the HT. So they definitely can help when bad conditions are right, when Mother Nature's helping. K4FXC.